I ever created a map for the Silken Sail. So maybe one day here pretty soon I actually will create a map for you. But I think we placed it, I think it was somewhat like north of 231, or it might have been right between 235 and 233. I think it was kind of about that area. And it like crossed between the Wharf Road and Fisherman Street.
I remember. Wasn't it like, yeah, I mean, I think it was like close to 235. So I remember it was being like it had uh one end the place towards the ocean, so it was like an open area.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. 235 might be about what it was. That's what I mean, like, I was thinking it was vaguely between 231 and 235, so it might have been that actual blue building, that's right there. So, I think yeah, I mean, we called it a 2-week trial period. I think it sounds good to say while you're interested in having, like, downtime work, we'll keep you there working with Airling and Petrarch. You're working as a bouncer. Um I have written down that we reduce you to 7 silver pieces a week, but as far as I'm concerned, we can call it a 1 guild or 1 gold lion per week, so you can take 1 gold piece basically for this week that has progressed by. Do you have any thoughts or anything that you wanted to do inside of the um inside of the dock district here while you're still like at the docks? Do you imagine kind of like uh early morning of heading up into the city proper and going like to the midtown and going to Delver Square? Do you want to go find somebody from the guild and basically spend your day with somebody who's kind of got your back? What do you think you would like to start off with?
I think I would start off with going to the inn and try to get someone to get my back as we down to the underground market case.
Alrighty. So heading through the city, basically traveling up that like long winding road through the actual dock district here. Let me have you start off there, just rolling a D12.
That's a 9.
Gotcha. So this walk's going to be pretty kind of typical. You get that like beautiful smell of the actual sea that you would probably really enjoy and almost start to miss as you head into places like the Warrens or like the Guild District, where there's a lot stronger smells that pull you away from the salt water that feels a little bit more natural to you. There's nothing especially crazy going on. You do have people still kind of celebrating the beginning of the new year. Again, on some level, we follow like the same calendar here. So this is effectively um, the day after the celebration of Lothian and the like beginning of the empire. As far as things go, I think that would normally put this as basically something named roughly like Lothian's Day or some such. Probably would have had a crazy night at the actual Silken Sail, bouncing more people than normal, but at the same time, not necessarily anything worse than some of the rowdier nights that can happen. Um, Probably being a little bit more prepared for it because it's a holiday. So it's a nice kind of like chance to pop into the city and kind of walk around and enjoy yourself. In general, city's going to feel a little bit quieter. You have a solid feeling that people are hungover. People are suffering from their night of debauchery. Um, do you think it's an early morning for Malchin, or do you think it's kind of like, if you're up to say 3 in the morning bouncing, do you think you just grab like a little bit of a night's sleep, like 5 hours, and you're up and going about your day? Do you think you sleep for like 10 hours? What do you think Malchin sleeps off after a night of work?
I would think he sleeps 10 hours at least after a night's work, especially if
Gotcha.
there's
So
like celebrations.
So it's probably roughly noon here where you've got the sun overhead. You can kind of like look up and see the spire is starting to cast its shadow across the city. By no means would the spire be like casting it too far into the city at this point. It honestly it works as a pretty solid clock in itself. Besides that, many of the actual towers and like churches have clocks themselves in this place. So you have a pretty solid understanding. You're kind of wandering around the city around noonish today. Um, there are street vendors out as you get up into uh, what is it? I think at first you're going to walk into kind of midtown on the very eastern side of it as it kind of crosses. Yeah, you'll like come up over in the east side where like 219 is where you come up from like the switchbacks that walk up from the docking district. And you kind of walk through Midtown and you can head um down Sale Street, and that's going to cross over the Kings River where you can actually start to walk into the Warrens there. Um, Definitely after the actual like flow of the Kings River is where you will start to pick up some of those scents of um this living city that ends up being things like a lot of the scents from the Guild District, where you have some of the industrial things like just kind of fires and things burning, and just like the sense of some of the tanneries and whatnot. But heading into the Warrens is where you have to be most prepared for yourself. So if I can, let me have you roll a perception check. And yeah, let's go for the perception check. Excellent. So heading into the Warrens, you're keeping an eye around yourself, but in the long run, you're still kind of just lost in the moment here, and you're just kind of like wandering into the actual Warrens a little bit nonchalantly. You all, I think, have been getting a little bit of kind of a false sense of security as you head into the Warrens. You've not been having as many difficulties with the Pale Dogs as some of the rumors have started to been leading you to. And eventually you just kind of find yourself not necessarily surrounded by pale dogs, but you do start to notice a few of them are around you. None of them holding especially hostile kind of like body language. But basically you just kind of notice these like double rings that they wear, and then their black fingernails. And you just see it's like a couple of these kids just kind of like mention to you and just something to the effect of like maybe like a 10 or 12-year old kind of like looking up to you from like a lounge position on like this like almost garbage heap of like used buckets and barrels that are smashed, almost like a house just kind of collapsed in this little area of the hovel. And you just hear like this one little kid like, "Oh, walking down the wrong alleyway, are we? Wouldn't want you to find yourself in any trouble. Do you need a guide to get you where you're going?"
No, I'm fine, thank you. Just on my way to the Crooked Skinner. Can find my way there by myself.
You might want to pay a little more attention. You wouldn't want to arrive damaged, would you now? Y'all aren't welcome here, and this is about as nice of a warning as you'll get.
Thank you for the warning. I might have been a bit into my own head walking around here. Oh, thank you at least.
More than welcome to tip me the coin for your well-being. Otherwise, be on your way. And he'll just reach out his hand.
Trying to remember how much like would be acceptable. I don't like 2 silver coins maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like 2 silver coins is a good bit of money. You obviously have plenty of reasons to understand that you are already far wealthier than many people. But remember, effectively, your 7-day work week is worth a gold piece. So you're working for just over like a silver piece a day. But also on some level, part of your work is also gaining like your board as well. So that negotiation kind of goes both ways for you. But like that sword you found, there's a certain level of I want you and Justin to decide what's going to happen with said sword. But that sword you found is the type of thing where your level of wealth can just exponentially explode because you found a magical item.
Huh, yeah. Well, I guess 2 silvers would be but maybe I guess I could go 5 copper. Don't wanna be stingy as well.
So you pull out a couple of coins and you throw like the 5 copper into his hand, and you'll notice like not only is this kid like kind of like looks back at you, like looks at the other kids. Well, be on your way. And he like pockets it. Roll a insight for me. Is that a
Uh,
7?
Now that is a 15 this time.
Oh, my bad. It was still rolling. That's what it was doing. It was like showing me the dice as it's still. So on some level, this is like for a moment you're like catching the realization that like kid was shaking you down, kind of trying to send you on his way. But like 5 copper is, I mean, as far as what a kid could make in a day, doing criminal stuff, they can make more money. But like a silver piece is what a lot of almost like tradesmen make in a day. 5 copper is a very solid kind of like tip here. Definitely catch them off on surprise. Um, you all are starting to find this like variable level where like the twin star marauders and the pale dogs are butting heads, and it's got to become a little bit more apparent that this place basically can't exist with both of you here. um and you just have this kind of like moment of like kind of a realization from him like, huh, didn't expect that so easy. um but you can go on your way. Let me get a survival now that you're paying a little bit more attention to your surroundings, and they kind of like send you off.
Okay, that would be a 20.
Okay, okay, yeah. As soon as you actually start to pay attention to things, you might actually start to say like climb higher onto some of the buildings. So you're actually kind of like walking above, and you can actually have like a little bit of a sight line on some of the rooftops around you. And this is probably a much easier way to travel. In the long run, you're dexterous and nimble enough that it's easy enough to kind of like keep track of some of the dangers of these roofs and whatnot to make it easier to travel like this. But as you kind of like move through, you can kind of like avoid some of these like false alleyways and almost stepping above things, find your way towards the crooked skin. And after, say, like 20 or so minutes of tracking your way into the Warrens, you can find yourself outside the Skinner and head on in to see essentially what the guild is up to. Uh, in general, this is again one of those opportunities where I would say you can certainly see there's a lot of the kind of like typical characters. Don't have to always have them in the exact same kind of position, but you can see a lot of the same characters that you would see most any given day who are kind of relaxing here You can see a lot of the other people who you've met, as well as Maybell behind bar and Kalimtas almost always on like that mezzanine, kind of the level overlooking the tavern. As far as sidekicks go, if you're looking for somebody to accompany you for the day inside of the city, do you have a particular set of skills that you would like somebody to have joining you? Um, assuming being that you are, um, I think you're an archer, right? You're predominantly towards archery. Oh, wait, no, you're a two-weapon fighter.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, like, there's a couple of different options who I believe Airwing and Mukhtar are both archers of sorts. Mukhtar is pretty much like very similar to you, where you'd see somebody who is far lighter armored, moving around a little bit more nimbly in leather. You have a solid sense of basically seeing him as like a little bit more natural of a person, where he falls into the ranger class. Erwin being somebody who's a little bit heavier armored, you might see that she actually wears some plate, as well as carries like some other weapons, predisposing you to recognize she's a little bit more of like a fighter class. Kier is someone who is slightly lighter armored, rocks out a couple of different weapons, tends to be something that's going to tell you probably something like a fighter class, like two weapon fighting. Zeneth is kind of a skilled sort of sneak, effectively giving you something like a thief kind of rogue concept. Uh, Tindas is a wizard of sorts, someone who is a caster, a mage, and you kind of just have the sense like this is like kind of the bar's bard. This is somebody who's like musical entertainment, and I think that's kind of the clue that that is like an actual bard. But theoretically, that's kind of the options that you have, unless you want. You can kind of recruit your own people as well, but that is actually something that you would do, like recruiting somebody and then kind of seeing if you can get them into the guild in kind of a different fashion, more or less. There's plenty of prospective adventurers in the Delvers Square, and that's one of those things where a lot of times you can just find other people. Oh wait, I also forgot Karato is very much a barbarian. That's like literally a guy who's like pretty much sitting around naked, but for some animal furs, and just has weapons. Weapons for days.
I think maybe would be approaching Corrado. Nothing else because I mean it's kind of intimidating to see a guy with just weapons for days and not wearing armor. One way to not get in trouble if you just look like you're more trouble than you're worth.
Yeah, his definite physical characteristics, like, once you when you approach him over there playing cards with Sineth and Mukhtar, you can basically like sit down with them all. This is one of those things that in the long run, I like the idea that you guys have spent time with these other people, so you don't necessarily have to meet them. Um, to recognize that these are people who have shared interests with you, but it also doesn't mean that you spent a lot of time with them. But essentially, like, going over to where they're playing cards, you might pop over, have them all say welcome to you, where you've got Zeneth kind of like looks up to you and looking to lose some coin today. Uh, Mukhtar will kind of like maybe look to you and, ah, don't be so afraid. You don't have to give away your coin. Perhaps you can just slowly spend it. And then you've just got this like brute who's like sitting over there, like just like covered in muscles that have muscles. And he's got like the smallest little like stack of coin. And he just kind of looks to you and is like, oh, never worry. They're not smart enough to get away with everything. And he like sets down his axe like on the table, and then you see as he like drops his hand onto the table, and he's got like two pair, and like the other two just like without showing their cards, just like kind of rake over the coins to him, and is like, so Are you here to play some cards?
Not today, sadly. Uh, I need someone to maybe watch my back as I poke around in the underground markets.
Oh, making a little trouble in the underground markets. Well, need someone to watch your back. We can handle that. And you'll just see is like all three of them kind of like look up to you, and you kind of see like maybe Mukhtar kind of like stands first and almost like stretches out his arms before kind of like pulling his bow and like preparing to like string it so it's ready to go, and he's like, well, perhaps I'm most disposed to keep a solid eye on you. If you keep the front, I'll certainly have an eye on your back. And then maybe Zeneth will kind of like say something along the lines of, well, if you need someone to watch your back, I can be there unseen. And Kurtel will kind of like look to the other two and it's like, well, he's making eye contact with me. Strikes me you want someone who keeps your back safe from close enough by that you know it's going to be fine. And I'll kind of like look down to the other two as they kind of like almost step back a little bit. And you can already see like this is somebody who has unintimidating presence simply by the nature of what they are. And theoretically, that is what you are here for. And you can definitely bring Kiritoa out with you. So if you want to spend some time here, grab like a little bit to eat, and basically plan to head off like shortly afternoon, basically, having like had an ale, had a little bit to fill your stomach. You can basically, decide when you are ready to go and effectively head off towards the midtown. Um, I am just looking to see which of these barbarian stat blocks I'm going to grab. So when you are ready, let me have you do another perception and roll a d8.
That is an 11 for perception and a 1.
So, as you are leaving the Crooked Skinner, you guys can kind of like head off and start to make your way out of the Warrens. Again, kind of like this is stepping out into the actual alleys and trying to track around like on ground level. And you're basically going to just be kind of like wandering around when there's like a building that collapses off in front of you, and then you're going to hear from behind you as somebody says, wandered into the wrong alley, have we? And I need you to roll for initiative, please.
That's an 11.
I have a very minimal stat block for this character that I created, and I just now recognize that I do not have an actual attack created. Never gave him a modifier for his plus to hit. +2 damage, he's gotta have 2 dexterity, so he probably has a +4. Alrighty, so both of my both of my guys are going to go before you here. And then Kiritawa will kind of follow you up here. So the person behind you who kind of like says this, basically like as you kind of like spin to like recognize like somebody's moved up behind Kiritoa is the one who you see kind of like or who you actually hear. You guys are kind of like tracking inside of like an alley here. Basically, something kind of like collapses in, giving you guys like a dead end in front of you. And you'll hear that person basically say that little threat of, oh, you've wandered down the wrong alley now, have you? And as you kind of like spin, you've got this person who's like holding their crossbow like up at the ready, and they're going to you're going to need to pay let's see, 5 silver if you'd like to pass here unencumbered by the pale dogs. Pay your debt or feel the pain. And then from up above and the other side, you're going to see another person who kind of like steps up and say they're like 10 or so feet up in the air, kind of like looking down from like the second story, where like that little bit of like collapsed debris kind of came from. And you see this person like holding like two daggers by like the tips of the daggers, and they kind of like look down from the roof at you, and you're like, hi. Ah, my bad. That's like the exact same voice. Hi, you're going to need to pay the coin, or you're never stepping out of this alley. Pay up, set your coins down, be gone from this place. How would you like to react to this, Malshin?
I would turn around to the first guy who spoke, the one who threatened first, and just go, "How about this instead? How big of a chance do you think me and my friend here can bum rush you and break all of the bones in your body before your friend over there can help you? Uh, you think those chances are pretty high? Then maybe it's better we just walk away from each other."
Intimidation here.
Oh yeah, Masha, the really intimidating guy of a 6, -1.
It's a deal. 10 silver pieces for each of you, and you can leave this place alive.
That I don't think. Yeah, don't think we need any more negotiations then, and I'll pull out my short swords.
Gotcha. So as you actually go to draw your swords and basically push in, each of them are going to take their attacks here. So let's just go for yeah, I'm gonna see who they're targeting. Odd is you, and even will be Kiritoa. So looking like they're both gonna go for Kiritoa here. So you at least are gonna be fine. The crossbow into Kiritoa, and then the second one will be a dagger into Kiritoa. Oh, I was gonna stop on the 19. Don't stop on the 6. That is a very cocked die. But it's rolling over the 19. And it's gonna roll to the 1. I am not a fan. Then rolling to a 13. How does it have that momentum? So I think the 13 is going to hit him from the crossbow. And what is that? That does an average of 5. This is where he's going to be doing a save. So I think realistically, roll a d20 for me, and you need basically not a 1 or a 2, 1, 2, or 3, and he dies.
Yeah, that is a 6, so it's not a 1, 2, or a
Gotcha.
3.
So he takes like a bolt into his like shoulder, but you can kind of see like it didn't like pierce through like bone or anything. It like went through almost like the deltoid, like the muscle on like his like right above his shoulder blade into his neck. And you can see while it like pierced through his deltoid, he just like looks down at it, and you're just going to see him, and he's like, now's the time for us to shine. What would you like to do, Mountain?
Oh, I think we would go for the in martial days, we'd go for the guy with the crossbow.
Gotcha. So yeah, he's probably what, like 20 feet south of you. You can draw your swords as you close that distance and make those two attacks.
That's a
So
10.
otherwise, yeah, this is just, oh wait, 10 total? My bad. This is just like a kid, but he's got like leather kind of like draped across him. A lot of it is kind of like raw skins. And when you like sink a sword into him, it feels like a solid hit. It seems like you're cutting into something, but as you draw your blade out, like with this cutting motion and this cutting feel, you're not going to see any blood. You didn't get through his actual armor.
And then let's see for my bonus action then. And that's another 5 for a total of 10.
Yeah, so same thing. Second sword just gets caught up inside of like all this leather that's kind of draped around him. And maybe you can kind of like gain a sense like this kid's a little bit more gaunt and like um less thick than he looks. So you're almost like stabbing into like the leather that covers him, not necessarily his actual flesh. Um, and then you've got Kiritawa. He will back you up on that person if you want him to. Otherwise, you can basically give him orders to go for the person who's up above. It's up to you to decide. He's probably more capable of taking out the person who you're fighting, than trying to get up to and attack the other guy. But I also don't see a reason why he couldn't do that as well.
Yeah, and I think it's better if you just came for the same guy that I did. Back me up on that one.
Alrighty. So I'm going to start using a different rule for flanking here to try to encourage people, one, to move more in combat, but two, to also try to think a little more strategically. Instead of flanking as advantage, we're going to try using flanking as a +2 to your attacks. And one of the other things I want to actually bring up as well is I want to give people the option of using proficiency dice instead of a hard proficiency bonus. You can roll proficiency dice. So, like, if your proficiency bonus is a 2, that means you can roll a d4 instead of taking that 2. Um, and that just means, like, at this level, you roll to attack with a d20 and a d4, add those up with like your dexterity bonus to see if you hit. And it just gets rid of like the static proficiency and gives you that variable die. So with a proficiency of 2, would you like to use proficiency bonus to attack, or would you like to use the proficiency die? My bad, I meant to offer it to you with Malchin.
I could try the die.
So he has one big sword. You can make your roll to attack. Basically, as he flanks this guy, you've got a +4 to hit right now, and then you can do the proficiency die in a d20 to see what you have to hit.
And let's see, the proficiency die was a D4.
Yep. I can already see with that 10 you're going to hit.
I mean, the
Actually, it would have
10
been a
was a
plus
plus.
3. So he's got a total of 14 there, which is enough that he can hit this character. Actually, no, it was a 15 because I said he's gaining the flanking as well. Um, so as you move up behind and cut into this guy, roll a d12 for damage here.
A 12.
Yeah. So this is just going to be one of those things where you like actively like just cut through this person. This is going to be just a straight kill. One of the other things that I've wanted to start using for a while now is actually like cut through attacks. When you take somebody from their full hit points to no hit points, if there was somebody else standing next to him, like if that guy was standing right there, you just did 15 damage to somebody who has 11 hit points, you would deal 4 damage to the other person if they were just standing there, purely because he went from full hit points to 0 hit points.
Okay, so it's kind of like a if it's an overkill, then
Precisely,
more
yep.
stuff.
And in the long run, that it's basically meant for people who are much weaker than you to like kind of like understand sometimes you just decimate people. But yeah, that guy basically just gets like cut in half by Karatoa, and you kind of see as he like basically like grabs a little bit of the blood and he kind of like wipes it across like his like one half of his face. So there's almost like a bloody handprint like crossing over his like left eye, and he'll like raise his sword to the little guy who's holding the knives on the other side. And just from up above there, he's just gonna kind of like look to you guys, and he like raises his hand, never drawing his like other knives. Um, Maybe with one hand, like he's actively like sheathing one of his knives, and he like just raises his hands, and then you're going to see as he goes from like nodding left to right, like no, he's just going to like jump backwards and just disappear out of view. You might hear like a few footsteps, but this person is booking it out of here. As far as things go, your mission was to get out of this alleyway. You have neutralized this threat of this little pale dog here, and his friend has booked it, and they are gone. What would you like to do?
I mean, waste not, want not. I'm gonna check the pockets of the guy who just got bisected.
Go for a investigation here.
See, and then I could roll a D4. I don't have to be like. Do I have to be proficient in it, or is it even for the ones with?
Are you proficient in? Well, effectively, instead of like if you have proficiency, this is going to replace the proficiency bonus.
Okay,
So,
then I get it.
are you proficient in investigation?
No. So that's a straight roll.
Gotcha. But that does then, what is it? Investigation is wisdom, I think.
No, it's intelligence.
Intelligence. Do you have an intelligence?
No, it's a just
Okay. So yeah, 13's not bad. Let me have you roll D100 for me. This is one of
let me
those
see.
things. There's so many ways to interpret treasure. Gotcha. So let's go for roll 3d6.
That's 13.
Gotcha. So as you like go through this person's pockets, you find like a few like almost like little like chipped pieces of gem where you find like four little like chip pieces of garnets which are basically just one gold piece apiece. But it's like four gold worth of garnets. It's tiny little flakes though. You find like he's got like 40 pieces of silver and then five gold. So you find effectively 13 gold worth of things on him, but it's in the form of four tiny little like gem flakes of garnet, 40 pieces of silver, and five pieces of gold. And then besides that, he was carrying a light crossbow. He's got leather armor. He's got a scimitar. So you could take those other things if you wanted to. That's one of those things where anything he's actually using isn't necessarily of value, but it also isn't useless if you wanted those weapons. But like if you wanted to sell that scimitar, it's not going to be near what a scimitar costs, but it's up to you if you take something like that.
I would take the scimitar if it seems like it's in condition.
As far as using it, yeah. So you can just add a scimitar. I would just say, like when you put it on your character, call it or put in like the write up that it is effectively like a battle worn scimitar or like pale dog scimitar.
I was just thinking that with that, probably head on over to. Oh, like I forgot.
Gotcha. I'm on the same level then. So with that, you guys like gather up your things, and you head back on your way. You head back on your way, heading basically towards Midtown and out of the Warrens here. What did I have you roll? Was that a D8 that you rolled the one on? I think it was. Let me have you roll a D12.
And that's a 7.
Excellent. So you continue on your way out of the Warrens. You head the rest of the way here. I feel like this word's ruined by terrible things, but I still think unmolested is the right way to think about some stuff. But you return out of the Warrens unmolested as you basically take to the Guilds District. As far as traveling across the Guildsman District goes, you can find yourself kind of heading through I can't zoom in enough to actually get a street level view. But I believe splitting off the Narid um, is the way to go. And I guess it's right into Midtown is probably the way to do that. So let me put you on here. Yep, and I just don't have a name for that street. It doesn't have a name. Blue Center Way? I don't think it's Blue Center Way. That's inside of the Narid. But you can basically follow across. Is that Iron Street the whole way? It might be Iron Street. It's kind of weird because sometimes these streets change names when they change even the slightest degree. But I feel like Iron Street might be Iron Street between the Guilds District and Midtown. But you can follow Iron Street all the way if you would like to like Ration Street and follow that up towards Delver Square. You could head up something like another street without a name with the 204 on it. I'm not sure what that is. And kind of like take that over to Center Street. There's a lot of ways to find your way towards Delver Square. But basically, once you make it into Midtown, this is a much nicer area. There's a lot less dangers about, a lot more things to kind of like catch your eye. This is one of those areas where it caters to adventurers, and there's a lot of kind of like wonderful sights to kind of appreciate. Uh, but more or less, you're heading into one of the nicer areas of the town. The houses are much more like unified in that they're like clearly built with a purpose instead of built a little more haphazardly. Many of them are built for housing, and then they also have shops near them instead of like the little more Roman style of the actual like North Ward and South markets. Like those two markets tend to have little stalls that are the lower levels, and then apartments up above. But it's a cool little change of scenery that kind of displays the wealth of Midtown as you guys head in, um, theoretically, to go to Delver Square and to head down into the Undercity. But do you have any thoughts when you are heading through Midtown? Is there anything in particular that you would like to like look for? Is there anything in particular you would like to maybe check out inside of Delver Square? Do you have any thoughts before I take you there?
Oh, I think I'm more focused on getting down, just looking around.
Heading into Delver Square, you got, like the actual shops around you. Walking in, you will cross by St. Gustav's Chapel is like across the street, and you'll be able to see the statue of Runahan overlooking the fountain, like inside of Delver Square. You've got like the whole setup of all of the different like shops that cater very particularly to the Delvers, but without much fanfare. You can head down into the stairs and into the Undercity. And again, last time we kind of did it without much fanfare because it was just kind of trying to make it happen. With a little bit of effort here, I created a map for you, and you can now explore what, on some level, we're going to pretend your character has done in the past. But basically, this is coming down the stairwell. Just to be clear, like anytime you see lines in parallel like that, they get smaller as you go lower. So this is the stair from the surface down into the shop or down into the Undercity, and that hallway that is like in front of you and to the left, that is a stairway that goes down lower into the Undercity. Does that make sense what you're looking at right now?
I think so. You get like the stairs and then yeah,
This area where you're at currently here is the start of the Undercity. As far as things go, I think you guys would know that a lower level is accessible almost immediately, where you can go even deeper into the Bane Warrens. um, Directly ahead and in that left turn pass from the perspective of your character, the right pass, the western of these, though, that is the entrance to the actual Delvers Guild. And this is effectively kind of their headquarters on some level. But the Delvers Guild effectively has done a lot to try to make this I think the 11th ward of the city, making the Undercity just as important kind of to them or to everyone else as every other part of the city. Like that recognition that like the Delvers are a part of the city. So that door ahead of you is like a big, thick wooden door that is currently shut. But you can kind of see like the sign for it effectively like shows like a group of adventurers, and you can kind of see like that is the entrance to the Delvers Guild. If you wanted to go in and effectively visit a Delvers headquarters of sorts. Uh, to the west, you guys would have gone in that direction at some point. There is an entrance to kind of some of the shops and stalls of the Undercity. And it just kind of continues into this idea that there are places for you to go in the Undercity that are more properly there. That's kind of the typical Undercity slash black market. Is it's not like a hidden or secret thing, it's just there. It's just not city level. And then there's other places that are secret, unknown places because effectively the Undercity and the black market is just as wide and expansive as like the city itself almost. So there's a lot of different places to go here. But let me reveal a little bit more real quick and show you. So that direction, like to the west and then south, leads you into like one of the marketplaces. And this is again just kind of like typical stalls and whatnot. Nothing is like especially like crazy things that you can find. A lot of these are effectively people who are here to do business, but don't necessarily like pay the taxes of the empire. So they're in the undercity, but they're not necessarily paying their dues that would let them do kind of above ground business. And then the other place of interest, you guys haven't really spotted, you haven't really found it, and you could certainly basically like be looking for it now, is that location that I gave you,
Travenors, scouts, guides, and porters, and Nastris. He could put us in contact with a man named
the
Eddie.
Emin. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So those were like last week when we're just kind of ad-libbing things. Those were kind of the names that I would say you kind of got from that person you guys shook down. The slavers who he was working for when he saw Dalton were the Emin. If you wanted to track them down, Travenor of scouts, guides, and porters might be able to put you in contact with Nastris. And then it also came with a warning of like, pursue this at your own peril. Inside of this location, if you've got like the little maze we currently have, what kind of thoughts do you have as to sort of exploring this bit of the Undercity? If you wanted to actually like stop somebody and ask somebody, there is like a flow of people who are moving through this place. This is not like a barren location where all of a sudden people don't exist. There's a lot of adventurers who come down into this pretty regularly as they're heading into the Bane Warrens. Probably plenty of people who are coming into and out of the Delvers Guild. Given like 15 minutes or so, you can probably see a group kind of wandering through like that. There's a flow of people in this place. At very least, like if you went to the actual market and spoke to somebody at a stall, you could gain some information that way as well. So if you wanted to speak to somebody and like ask for the location of scouts,
Yeah, I mean, if we seen like with the stall areas before, so would probably go down there and ask someone there. There, there. I should start heading get to
to
scouts,
like
guides, and porters.
actually heading to the market area and speaking with somebody there.
Yeah, they would
So
probably let me
you
say.
can go and you can like chat somebody up and ask them for information. Or you could do something like along the lines of, going to somebody who's selling like grilled meats, buy some of their food, and then ask them questions like while you're eating. You could go someplace and like pick up some trinkets from somebody and ask them after you spent some coin. Do you think you want to just go and speak to somebody at random and hope they help somebody who is not patronizing them? Would you like to go to somebody and kind of like spend some coin at their shop and then ask them? What do you think your method of asking would be?
Yeah, Marshall would go up to like a food stall and pay for some food, and then while eating, ask like, just to go like, oh, and by the way, I'm looking for scouts, guides, and porters. Which way should I start heading? Find that?
Gotcha. So say you could get like some kebabs for like 1 copper a piece, and they've just got like three little like bite-sized pieces of meat on them. Almost like I don't know, I feel like there's like pressed chicken where you have like you just like kind of squeeze it onto like a stick in like kind of like Pakistani kind of food, and you've just got this like spice little like ball of meat that's like on this little stick. 1 copper a piece. How many do you think you'll buy?
It's 1 cup for like one ball, or is it like one skewer?
Like per stick, and each stick basically has like a handful where there's like three little balls like on the stick. Um, so I'd say like think of almost like, this might be a weird description of like if you put like your thumb and your forefinger together, if like that's kind of like the size of these like kind of meatballs. But otherwise it's like a palm full of meat. When you squeeze it on there, you almost like form it into like three almost separated meatballs, but they're still kind of connected. But if it's a copper a piece for say, is that maybe like 7 grams of meat? I feel like 7 grams might be a little, maybe say like 21 grams of meat.
I think, yeah,
How
I
about if I put it
agree.
this way? You could three of them. Gotcha. I was gonna say I feel like two would be like a solid snack. Three starts to approach like a light meal. So, and I was thinking like four would be kind of like approaching a heavy meal.
I was thinking like buying 3 and giving 1 to, Kirito.
Gotcha. Yeah. So maybe he'll actually go up and when you get those three and like hand him one, he's gonna hand like two copper over and grab like two more. So he's got a couple as well. But you can roll with advantage here. Just roll a persuasion here as you ask for the location for me.
With advantage, that's 13.
Gotcha. Does your persuasion Oh, your persuasion is the negative one? Oh, yeah, it's not difficult at all to make your way to scouts, guides, and porters. If you follow, and let's say this like stall keeper is kind of like near the door, so you're just kind of like standing, looking at the door, and this person's like left arm is near the door as they're looking towards you. They just kind of like point out. And basically, if you head out of this little area here, start to wander southward, take your first left. You'll follow that way till the halls start to go a little bit wonky, and they'll wander a little bit more leftward. When you're doing that, past the first crossway, and then the dolls will start to go a little bit more to the north again. And you'll see the sign for scouts, guides, and porters. It will be after the halls go straight again. And then he'll kind of look to you again, like kind of see if like that makes sense. Oh, you could head out to the north here and cross over, take a few streets, and it'll be your second street after Delver Square to the south to your right. So which way do you want to go?
I think I'm gonna try the going north and across, and oh god, I am horrible with directions.
I don't want to make it too clear because I do want to potentially have this be a funny moment of you getting lost. So yeah, so you'll head back towards Delver Square entrance. That puts you at like a 0 point, like heading back north here. That's your first crosswalk. I guess as you're actually wandering it, you should see a lot more too. So you got your first crossing section when you leave the Delver Square there, and then you'll kind of continue on here till you get to the second little crossing section. And what do you want to do from there? You can see that the halls go north and south, and you can see a crossway in each kind of direction.
I think he said to the right, so I'm gonna go south down that way.
Gotcha. So as you follow that direction down, you are going to see that there is a shop on your right to the west of you. You'll see the actual door, basically like a guy who's like kneeling, almost like looking at like footprints across the door. You'll see one who it's like somebody who's like looking at a map and is almost like pointing off in a direction. And then you see another one, which is somebody who's like laden down by like packs, and you can basically see scouts, guides, and porters. Door opens without any effort, and when you kind of like step in front of you is one kind of like cabinet filled with some like oddities, another cabinet filled with oddities. It's kind of an oddly shaped room, and then you can see that there's like one single door that's kind of behind the second one. And then other than that, you see a human stands about like 5.5, 6 feet tall, or 5.5, like 5'10" ish, a meter 6, a meter 7, maybe a little bit short for like the average human male. But you see otherwise like kind of like a not like long cloaked individual. He's got a cloak that like drapes down across his back and it kind of hangs like in an oblong shape, longer on his right side. And you can see that it like almost covers that like right shoulder a little bit more. But this person's just kind of like sitting there almost like studiously like looking at a book. As you enter, they like draw the little piece of silk like through the center of the book, close it up, and like holding the book almost across their chest a little bit, with like the cover kind of pointing towards you. You can see this person's wearing nicer clothing. It's certainly not like really fashionable or like really like nice like noble clothing. But this is somebody who is not like for want of wealth, and they kind of look to you with like a nice little smile to their face, darker hair, almost like kind of like a brown, but like darker on like the black level. And they kind of like look to you and go, ah, yes, hello, welcome to Scouts, Guides, and Porters. My name is Travnor. I am the proprietor. Were you, and he kind of like looks to Kirito as he steps in. Were the two of you looking for a guide? Do you require someone for tracking? Porters, perhaps? How can I help you today?
I'll like step up close to him. And go, sadly, not any guides, porters, or something like that. We're more in need of some help. Say, we were told that you might help us find some people we are looking for.
And what sort of people are you looking for? If you are not searching for a scout, a guide, or a porter, that is my business. How else could I help you?
We're looking for people going by the name of Enin. Heard that you might, put us in the right direction to them.
Let me get a persuasion from you here.
We have Malchen. Definitely persuasive. That's an 11.
He'll kind of like reach down below display case where he's at, kind of like looks away for a moment as he like almost crouches down and takes a moment to kind of like open up a little drawer, stands back up, and he's got a different book in his hand. And he'll kind of like flip through a little bit where he glances over the pages. And then, I don't see any of my guides who go by that name. Are you sure this is someone who has worked in my employ? I am very sorry. I may not be able to help you.
Honest, I don't think they've worked in your employ, and it was an organization name. Seemed to be slavers of some kind. Heard that you help us find them.
And are you inclined to find yourself purchasing a slave?
Not one for slaves myself. I'm more in line of have some questions for them. Might have seen someone with they're looking and well,
I'm very sorry, friend, if you're in the market for something. It's easier to point you in that direction when you want to buy. But an organization who I don't know for products you don't want, I'm not sure I am able to point you in that direction. For neither of us know where we are going to be able to find the place where we will end. You see, things are so much easier to track when the end is something we have in sight.
all right, then this might make it easier, even if I don't particularly in your slavery. But let's say we are looking to buy a person that they might have seen. Might even have been a person that they have gotten their hands on.
If you were capable of putting a oh man, I'm trying to think of if you were able to put a retainer fee, hmm, 20 gold, non-refundable, I might be able to get some gears moving. So I could put you in contact with different agents who might be able to find their way into different markets. But I must stress, if you are intending to cause trouble, to change the nature of businesses that take place here, we are not inclined to be disrupted, nor to have our flow of money changed. You say you're looking for someone in particular. Are you saying someone you know has disappeared? And he'll kind of like point to your skin and like one of your kind.
No, not my kind. It's an acquaintance of mine. That's this person. But no, yeah, no, not my kind. It's more regular human looking. We're looking for.
Well, if you would be so inclined, for that 20 gold lion retainer fee, I would be certainly obliged to set one of my scouts into the finding, and we can help you track down this person and these people. The the Renan, you said?
No, Enon.
Ah, yes, the Enin. Enin. And he like jots something down in his book.
Yeah, Malchen would be like reluctantly he'll be pulling out like his big point coin purse and like starts slowly counting while mulling it over in his head like, damn this. We're gonna pay 20 gold for someone else here? Ah.
Paying 20 gold non-refundable too. This is gold that's like gone the moment you spend it on a promise.
Yeah, he's gonna pull out 20 gold coins while muttering beneath his breath like, ah, hopefully I can get it back from Davros later.
So as you're like pulling out this coin, and I assume it's not simply like 20 gold, that you actually are producing it from like different amounts of coin. He's actually going to once again kind of like kneel down below this display case he has. You hear like a little bit of ruffling through papers, and once again stand up, notebook in hand this time, and essentially fill out a little bit of paperwork where he'll kind of like rise up with say like 10 or so pages of paperwork. And you're basically going to have, like, in many senses, a kind of legal document or a sort of like legal agreement that kind of like through a lot of like hoops and like legalese essentially says things to the effect of like, I, Malchin, like he'll have you fill it out, but like, I, Malchin, am putting down this 20 gold retainer fee for Travenor Wren to search after um, my friend, and you'll kind of like give up a little bit of information, I assume, on Dalton that you're searching for Dalton, and a group who appears to be called the Enin. And he'll like basically have this filled out, but effectively you've got like a few pages that kind of like outlines this agreement between you all. And effectively that again, like that 20 gold is theirs regardless of what they find. Do you take some time to read over the document, or do you think you're just kind of like when he says like sign here, 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 and here? And like points out like where there's like X's on this document. You just kind of sign it and go ahead.
No, I would go through like reading it a bit at least, not just follow his guidance.
Give me an intelligence check.
That is an 18.
So you do see where this document basically says like their employ will be like a certain amount of effort that they put into searching for this person, and it really is effectively like about like 3 to 8 silver a day depending on expenses that they spend while searching for this person. When that uses up the 20 gold retainer, they will start working beyond that, but unless you pay an increased 20 gold like add 20 more gold to the retaining fee, they will not go beyond like 25 gold expended. And at which case when they are owed that 5 gold, they will start to come after you. That's like the nefarious bit that you kind of pick up is like there's a certain level of they're going to start working behind the they're beyond the fee that they've collected if they don't produce anything. And they might rack up 5 more gold that they will kind of hunt you down for, that you would be contractually obligated to, part of again signing this contract. Um, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to pay the 20 gold that it would ask for if you continue their work. But that's kind of like the nefarious bit that you kind of like pick up, like where this contract goes a little bit beyond what you've just agreed to, but that's kind of how it outlines it. So they might work for, say, um, 30 or so days before you owe them another 5 gold, and they'll start to search for you to pay 20 more gold or that 5 gold and everything's ended. You know what I mean?
I think I get it. Yeah. So then, like the retainer, I put them on the 20. They work for that. Then that's out. They work for 5 more gold, and if they don't find anything, they search for me. And if I want them to search more, that's 20 more gold or 5 more. Just if I don't just want them to stop.
Yeah, precisely. They're not gonna stop when you're done with what you've paid. They're going to put you into debt to them before they stop. But, like, if you paid the 20 to have them continue, it's only for 15 more gold worth of work because 'cause they've already done 5 of it.
Yeah, probably as I read them, I'm gonna point it out. Yeah, about this part of the contract. Uh, you can just stop working with the 20 gold is done. Don't need to keep searching more.
If you insist, my friend, we can most certainly strike that from the contract. And when he says we'll strike it from the contract, you're going to see as that line just disappears from the contract.
Certainly handy.
Everyone has their skills, my friend.
Yeah. So, how soon will you start working after I pay you here?
I can send someone out this day, and they will start as soon as possible. And he'll, collect any information that you might have on Dalton. In the long run, knowing that you were coming here, Dalton is a member of the guild, so for what it's worth, we'll let you have as much information as effectively Justin kind of wants to give. But yeah, I'd say in the long run, like it's a solid little start to effectively have them going after this person. I think on some level, everything also is probably worded in the effect of you are looking to buy this particular slave. Maybe it's like worded in kind of the way to almost like notify you. Remember, you are searching for a slave. We know that the only acceptable slave is your friend, but you're searching for a slave. And that's one of the things that kind of like almost like sits on like, like the surface of this is like you have to try to uphold this idea. You're about to go into a place where if you're not a slaver, you don't belong. So keep that in mind, kind of thing. When and if we are successful, what is the best way for us to contact you? Would you like to have us send simply a crier for you, any old vagabond? Or would you rather something more assured, like having a spirit's messenger bring you the information you seek, including, in the worst case scenario, if we were unsuccessful?
How much would the spirit thing cost?
For type 1, we can have approximately a 25-word message brought to a specific address for 5 gold pieces.
That's a lot of gold.
It is far more reliable than any old person on the streets. Otherwise, you could certainly come back and check in with us, and there is no additional fee if you were to do that. But if we found your friend 2 days from now, and you come back in 10 days, that is 8 days of us having been successful. It would have passed.
Yeah, I'm not sure with a bit of a rumbling, we put forward 5 more gold, like in various currencies. So, yeah. Okay. I think the address would. I think he would give the Silken Sales address where he usually is.
If you have it go to the Silken Sale, it could come in during like a bar shift, and it's just gonna say it to the first person that it sees. So like if it
Oh,
goes to the address, it might tell a patron. Whereas if you give it the Crooked Skinner, at least on that level, the first person that it sees is likely to be somebody who is a member of the guild.
all right. Can I change it to the Crooked Skinner?
Excellent. You care quite a bit about your friend, I see, and I think we should be well disposed to help you.
Oh, hopefully that was worth it.
He'll collect those extra 5 gold from you, kind of with like a smile and like a seal from his ring. Like he'll, burn a little bit of candle wax, seal it with his ring, and as he kind of like seals it with his ring, it's going to produce, basically like almost like burning up in like a puff of smoke, like the two or like this like sheet of paper or the sheets of paper. It's going to produce two little rolls of an equal number of papers, and you'll basically see as each one of those kind of like sits down on the desk in front of him, he'll hand one off to you, and then he'll have the other copy. And effectively, it's now you have a copy of the agreement. He's got a copy of the agreement. He'll basically like kind of file those away for his own records, and he'll look to you and say, "Well, Malchen, it's been a pleasure to find how we can be of service to you and to welcome you to the search for a slave in your near future. If there's anything else that I can do for you today, please don't hesitate to ask. But otherwise, I think we've accomplished our business.
Yeah, I think I'm good for today. Thank you.
So we can have you all heading back out into the undercity here. And do you have any thoughts on kind of like what Malchin intends to do from this point? Is there any thought or questions that you wanted to ask me? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm thinking at the moment. I'm thinking we got a lead at least, and hopefully that will pan out for Davros. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to do now though. Maybe just explore this underground area for a bit.
This map is meant to be a bunch of future places to explore in the Undercity. As like many things, the Undercity is essentially a plethora of places to go. Um, without an actual source like joining the Delvers Guild, um, you don't have a solid understanding. Like part of their maps is to give you a little more clue on what there is around here. All of these like end tunnels that kind of lead off the edge, these are potential places that you can explore essentially ad infinitum. Going underground is a massive dungeon. Eventually, everything leads basically to staircases that go down. Just as much as there's multiple places where these things continue on, multiple places where you see that there's like ways to sneak up into the city up above. You can get to the sewers through some of these. You can get down into the Bane Warrens through some of these. So exploring here is one of those things that if you do it without the Delvers Guild, there's a certain level of danger that you're going to get into stuff that is well beyond you versus the guild. It's actually one of the things that Dalton was the first to uncover. The guild actually owns a piece of property that has a entrance into the underground, and that's one of the things that kind of initially brought Dalton into the guild. But it's also one of the things where like you can also go into the sewers and like hunt sewer rats. They have like that gold bounty on their head. They're like 3 gold apiece to kill sewer rats. There's a certain level of exploring the undercity without joining the Delvers Guild is kind of dangerous because there's I'm not going to balance fights of what you can get into. That's one of those things that the Delvers Guild things are often going to be like clear, or you could walk into something crazy.
Yeah. Huh? Yeah, I can see that. I remember last session too that like they have cache and like hidden caches as well. You can get rest and things you need to.
Yeah. Here, let me actually assume that you go into the Delvers Guild while you're exploring this level. And that way we can actually like give it to you kind of in character a little bit here. So when you come into the guild, if you came through that main entrance, you're going to walk in through the north. If you tried to come through one of the 3 entrances to the south, those doors are actually locked in that direction. So eventually you would kind of find your way back around here anyways. But effectively coming in through the north, you would see that there is a young lady like about like 30s or so who's sitting behind the desk and will kind of like look up to the two of you as you enter through that door. And you'll just have kind of like a, oh, hello. Welcome to the Delvers Guild. Are you two members? My name's Erica Sue. I don't believe I recognize you.
No, I am Malchen, and no, we're not members.
You seem to carry yourselves as capable folk. Are you considering the Delver's life? Are you looking to wager your lives against the riches of the Bane Warrens?
Yeah, that has crossed my mind. I've heard things about the Devil's Guild. I thought I would check it out and see what it's all about. That's okay.
We offer many benefits to the members of our guild. You are more than welcome to ask me any questions that you have. If you were interested in joining for the entry level fees for 10 gold per year, one is allowed access to guild information and a 10% discount with Everett's oddities. For 20 gold per year, you gain those associate benefits as before, as well as access to the guild library, the map room, and way stations along the way. Anything that you do consume from a way station will need to be replaced by yourself, or you can pay certain fees to have someone travel to that way station and replace it for you.
I can understand that. That's quite a lot of money. But then again, with risking your life down in around there, then you'll probably earn quite a lot of money. Can make it.
Master delvers are actually able to purchase life insurance for 5,000 gold if you are killed within the Bane Wardens. We will send a group after you, bring you out, and revivify you. Or if you would like the highest option, actually guarantees your life within a year of death, but that is quite a bit more expensive. There are many benefits to joining the guild, and it can start on day one. Were you to go without us, there's certain dangers, but we do pay gold for any maps that are made of any locations we have not yet explored.
That only for non-members that you pay them, or do you pay your members as well if they explore new areas? Or is that
The greatest benefit of being a member, when we buy your maps, you know ahead of time that the map that you make either exists or it doesn't already. The insurance is that for a member, if you know the map exists, you don't have to waste the time creating a map that we don't want to buy. But yes, we will buy it regardless of whether you are a member or not, were you to map areas for us.
Yeah, I think Malchen is actually. Yeah, I'm gonna actually buy for like entry level, like just become member. That's 10 gold.
Alrighty. With the associate level, like the 10 gold per year, access to the library or map room costs you a gold. And then if you wanted to copy a map, it costs between 50 and 200 gold pieces. For the guildsman, where it's the 20 gold, you won't be paying that 1 gold each time you want to look at the library or the map room.
Okay, so yeah, you basically don't have to pay enter.
Yeah, if you went to the map room of the library 10 times in basically 2023, what you should have just spent by basically buying in as a guildman right off the bat. So this kind of goes back to I don't know how much gold you have on you to know whether it's even an option for you right now.
No,
But
not right now.
yeah, it's one of those things where I'd say there's a certain level of um I mean it almost makes sense to me that like if you're going to join, you might as well just jump right to the guildsman level of 20 gold pieces.
Yeah, probably.
How much coin do you have on you?
Well, after spending quite a bit, for I have a total of well 10 gold and some silver and copper.
When we actually head into the Bane Warrens, it's the type of thing that like one successful adventure is going to pay for that 20 gold entry fee. If you are not prepared to join the guild today, I can also inform you there are other amenities that we offer here. We have a certain amount of stock of traditional adventuring gear that is prepared and ready for use. Uh, Day discount, of course, for any guild members. There's plenty of supplies for healing kits if you needed to do any assistance to help yourselves clear up wounds and whatnot, as well as you can access different stations. We often keep a porter or ale in house ready to go, but we do try to make things as comfortable as possible here in the guild headquarters.
Yeah, I can see that. Certainly seems very much worth the price. But yeah, I'm gonna join up today, but certainly come back. That's for sure. Have to clear up some things first.
Yeah, so like on some level, like you're the one who took the sword when you guys picked that up, right?
I have it.
So I think on some level, maybe she notices that, and if you were so inclined to perhaps relieve yourself of the weight of your great sword there, Magus of Major Oddities would certainly be willing to pay more than enough for you to join our guild and make a fine guildsman. So when the time is right for you, please don't hesitate to return. I look forward to seeing you on that day. Um, and she'll just kind of, returning to the book she has at hand. Until then, it's been a pleasure to meet you, Malchen. Kerta, I am excited to welcome you two into the guild when you decide it's time for you to delve deeper into the unknown places of Taurus and the Bane Warrens.
Well, thank you for your time, Erica Sue. What was the name of the shops she mentioned?
Magus Oddities. It is just above where we are at, inside of the Delver Square. Rastor's Weapons is the place where you would go to buy weapons. But Magus Oddities sells like used items. So if you want to get anything magical, you go to either Dansbury and you have something commissioned to be made by um the magical people who make magical items. Otherwise, you go to Major's Oddities and get something used. There is technically a monopoly on magical items. People don't deal in magic here. There's one organization who deals in magic, and Madrith kind of like skates by only dealing in used items. But if you head up to the town above, you could go into Madrith's Oddities, and that's a place where you can always find random magical equipment as well as selling stuff. I also gave Justin the ability to sell item to the guild, so I can make an offer to you with the actual guild for that item, or you can sell it to Magus Oddities. The guild basically will pay you a lower price, and then give you a chance for a commission when it sells to somebody in the guild who buys it. Versus if you sell it to Magus Oddities, I'll give you an offer with like a week's. It's like a downtime activity to try to sell your weapon. I'll either give you an offer and you can accept it, or you can continue to kind of like check back and try to sell it like at a time where it's more profitable. You just don't know when you'll sell it that way.
I think I'll go to Eric's Oddities and sell it for the offer.
It's 25 gold to find out what she'll pay you. And she's going to try to sell the item across this week. Let me have you roll charisma persuasion check for me, please.
That's a 2.
Did I actually tell you what the weapon was? It's a +1 greatsword, right?
No, I don't think you actually told me what it was more than it was a great sword. I don't have it written down with a. I actually put it down as a long sword for some reason. So I remember we found it. We was in the leather wrapping with the blood, but I don't think we actually like looked at it properly.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've got it. I've got it in my notes though. It's a +1 greatsword. Um, so yeah, Magus will kind of look over this. This is a very old individual. I want to say it's a female. I don't have my notes open. In the long run, I feel like usually choosing the sex doesn't necessarily matter. But you basically have this very old individual, very clearly an elf. You can see they have extremely long ears. Ears always grow, and elves, the older they are, the longer their ears are. So you basically have a solid sign that this is quite an aged individual. Looking over the item, they'll kind of like take it out from the leather and taking a few moments to kind of look over, have like a little bit of like kind of awe and like appreciation. This is quite a beautiful find you have there. It's a rather ancient creation, seems to have some magical characteristics. And that's just kind of purely like almost looking over it to see like there's no like tarnishing of the steel. There's no signs of wear from like a fight or like any dings or nicks in the actual blade. And kind of like continues through. And takes a little bit of time. You'll actually see as she like starts to actually weave some spells and she starts to identify the actual sword. Okay, excellent. Well, it is indeed a magical weapon, and that's certainly good for you. I believe I could give you 200 gold for this item.
Uh, that seems fine to me. 200 gold. Yeah, sure.
Excellent. So, with the purchase being done presently, there's no need to pay any sort of listing fees, as I will not be attempting to sell the item for you. So you are more than welcome to take your fee. And she'll basically like take the sword and just kind of like moving to a rack, like kind of behind her shop. And her shop is like a smaller shop, but it's filled with like random empty spots on walls, just as much as there's random spots that are filled with things. So anytime you want to come in here and just browse what magical items she has, that also is always an option. Um, and most of the time, I'm purely just going to generate things on like, are you looking or are you just kind of walking in to sell? Are you just leaving? Because it's effectively, this is one of those things where I can basically produce almost anything just like a drop can produce almost anything. It's almost always going to come down to just what's your luck like that day. But she'll kind of like walk back to a area where she maybe has some other swords kind of like, and she'll just like mount this on the wall in an empty space, and you'll see as it kind of like gleams, and then she'll step back to you and, well, excellent. Do you have a preference for gold lions? Would you like this in gems? What is your desire? Payments.
Gold lions are perfectly fine.
Excellent. Well, and she'll just kind of like take out like a small purple bag, and she'll just kind of keep reaching in and like setting out little stacks of coin. You'll see as she counts like the first one off to 10, and then she sets out like another, and you'll see as she kind of like levels them off until eventually there are 20 stacks of 10. And she'll be like, excellent. Well, here you have 200 gold pieces. It's my pleasure doing business with you. If there's anything else you would desire, please don't hesitate to ask. It would be a wonderful chance to do any other business for you.
No, I think I'm perfectly fine at the moment, but definitely keep this shop in mind. Need to shop around.
Please, I look forward to the next time that I see you. It would appear we have another delver in the ranks, and many, many wealthy objects to bring out from underneath and allow the light of Saloon to shine on us all once again. So you can go down and join the Delvers Guild if you would like. You and Kiritoa can go and slay some rats if you would like. It kind of goes back to the idea of like, is there anything else that you actually want to do? Um, versus, I still think there's a certain level of like going into the Bane Warrens should probably be more of something that the guild needs to do, like with a group, than it should be like solo missions. And especially just while you guys are still level one.
Yeah, I feel like that definitely needs more security than I have at the moment. But yeah, I could go down and join the Deltas Guild, the 20 gold, get that out of the.
You can mark off that gold. Erica Sue kind of a little surprised to see you like immediately having returned. It's like, oh, excellent. Oh, wonderful. That was quick. I see you made use of your sword indeed. We can take a moment here to fill out your paperwork, and essentially just kind of giving you like a signed and sealed imperial document that basically puts you as a member of the Delvers Guild. Are you an imperial citizen?
I from that guard I met at the docks, I did get like some I did get citizenship. I think it's just not entirely legally made. If I figured correctly. It's more like I got it. I paid like a couple. I think it was like 20 gold. I don't remember how much it was, but it was some gold. And he basically just jotted down like your name and blah blah blah, and just wrote it down. Made some things up, and bam, I'm a citizen.
Gotcha. So while she's like filling out that paperwork for you, she's going to basically like ask you for that imperial paperwork. And yeah, I think as far as I'm concerned, like having it done by an actual member of the guard like that, you've got like imperial citizenship. And she'll kind of like look it over and she's like, "Oh, um, well, it would appear your I almost want to say it's basically like your name is wrong.
I mean, that
Well,
wouldn't be out
I
of. Oh, sorry.
can see where maybe dealing with special paperwork for you. Um, I can fill things out as you would like on your citizenship here, or we can fill it out as you would like with your name as you introduce yourself, and then I can fix your citizenship. Um, do you have a preference? Do you want to get your citizenship fixed, or do you want to like switch the name you are known like as an adventurer fixed?
I'll get the citizenship fixed, so it makes sense.
If you and she'll like kind of like set that paperwork that she's been working on aside, and she'll basically set up some other things. She takes a few moments and seals it like with a signet ring that she's wearing, uh, and then hands you like a small piece of paper, and it basically like a temporary ID kind of sorts. It's like this um basically certifies like Malchen. I don't know if you ever created a last name for your character, but essentially like it identifies you, has joined the Delvers Guild on this date. Delvers Guild certifies that they are indeed an imperial citizen, though they have had some issues with damaged paperwork and are in the process of having their paperwork reduplicated and fixed where the weather had produced damage. Anyone who has any issues with said paperwork and it sources them to the actual Delvers Guild library in Old Town. And basically, like, it goes through all of this, and it's effectively to say, like, if you've got a problem with this person, come check in with the Delvers Guild and we'll sort it out for you. But effectively, right now, just have down that you've got temporary identification while Erica Sue and the Delvers Guild are fixing your identification. I believe it would probably take us maybe 3 days to a 10 day in order to get everything fixed. If you would like to pick it up upon the and she'll just like look upon the 10th. You can get it from Chab Livoic, the head librarian in the Old Town Library. He should have it upon that day. Otherwise, if you give it another few days, perhaps in 2 weeks from now, we can have it returned here to the Delvers headquarters. And I will have it for you. It's your preference of choice, of course, if you would like to go to Old Town yourself. Um, as a member of the guild, it would be a good opportunity for you to meet Chad and have an opportunity as well to look through the libraries and the map room.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. That seems like a good idea to check out the maps and everything in advance.
It really is a quite beautiful sight, and it is worth your time indeed. There's many a wonderful thing within our main libraries. Obviously, we have plenty of things here in the undercity as well, where we one day hope to move all guild activity. But if you require anything else, please don't hesitate to ask. If you were to head to the library today, your paperwork at present is all set, and everyone will recognize my seal and understand that you have the access due to your guild rank as a guildsman.
Oh, thank you for that.
At this point, it's kind of a question of like, do you actually want to like go slay some things? I can put you like into the sewers and you can go hunt some rats and try to collect some rat tails to turn in with the commissar's men. They are still 3 gold apiece. You can head off into the city and kind of see what kind of random things might happen around you just venturing around the city. Um, there's a lot of different kind of other choices. Like if you wanted to go to Old Town and see the actual Delvers Guild, I don't necessarily have it prepared where I can show you like a Delvers Guild or much like that, but something might happen along the way there. What are you kind of thinking? Like, do you want to fight some stuff? Do you want to role play?
I think I would like to go down to the sewers and hunt some rats.
Gotcha.
Nothing.
Yeah, so what I think you were adding the 200 gold. So if you add 180 gold instead. And then I would just say like, what is it on like the fourth page or like the affiliation? You can put in Delvers Guild 2023 dues paid, and then put in that you are a guildsman by rank.
Oh yeah, there it is in notes. Yes, in organization.
So after a year of being a guildsman, you're then able to, if you wanted to, like 2024 is where if Malchin like survives that long kind of thing. 2024 is where he could become a master delver if he wanted to step up to the higher levels.
Yeah, let's see. It was associate level now or 20.
Nope, nope. You paid for the full guildsman.
Okay, I full guilds. Okay, yeah, just making sure. Member of the Devil Guild, full guilds.
I guess really what it is there's the associate is the 10 gold, guildsman is 20 gold, and then
Oh, okay.
above that is master, and then grandmaster is above that. Yeah, so if you head back out into Midtown and you start to make your way, kind of like almost just like looking up into the sun again and kind of like taking the time, like looking to Keratoa and kind of just like looking to each other, both of you having spent like quite a bit of coin, kind of like looking around sewers, kill some rats, make some coin back, or we could go to boss has been talking about his place. He's got in the southern area near, and he's just gonna kind of like, I feel like he said it was in the Guildsman district, and he's like looking through what like looks like a book, and like every once in a while you have a chance to kind of see. Like, let me have you roll a perception check real quick.
That's an 8.
Gotcha. It's enough that you can kind of see like this guy's like flipping through a little like notebook, but it's like the type of thing where they might not be words, but whatever it is, there's like 2 or 3 kind of like scratch marks on a page. Like if this person writes like a sentence, it probably goes over like 6 to 7 pages because they don't write small. They're just like big, massive letters that almost take up a full page themselves. Effectively, Kirito, as far as I'm concerned, is next to illiterate, and right now he's looking up for how he writes the address of this entryway that Kalimtas has shared with him. But it's basically the question at this point is, do you want to jump into the sewers or do you want to go to the kind of like entrance area that the Twin Star Marauders kind of have? It's like one of their side properties.
Yeah, I think I'll go for the sewers. Make up some more money after having spent so much. Even did get some quite a lot back.
Oh, alrighty. Do we just want to go down here? And he'll just kind of like look down like one of the streets and he just kind of like looks to the south a little bit to see if he sees like a sewer grate. Looks off to the north. Should we go to a particular place? Where do you want to go?
Ah, yeah, Probably go down here. Sewers, sewers are sewers, right? Just, just hunting rats.
Excellent. That's alrighty. So this is the general shape of the sewers in Tolis here. East to west is uphill, so west to east is downhill. So the flow of water is almost always going west to east. They tend to be the wider sewer lines because they have more flow going through them. And then north to south, there's a lot more kind of randomness because these actually tend to be things that are um, almost made by need. Like they tend to not necessarily flow because there's essentially like a level of like if the three that you see going west to east are all flowing, there's no water that needs to like equalize the pressure that's necessarily moving between them. It only kind of tends to be like if there's a clog somewhere and the sewer isn't like flowing in a direction, that it might start to go north or south and basically almost divert around kind of clogs. So that's kind of the general idea of like what the sewers kind of do here. But effectively, what do we got here? We've got, I think, 8, 10 entrances. Can you roll a d10 for me and we'll see where you start from?
That's a 2.
So if you see where I dropped Kiritoa there, in like the south, or he's kind of like in the eastern side, middle of the map.
Oh, there. Yeah, I barely saw him. I had to zoom in.
These are pretty interchangeable. So if you like walk off the map on some level, I'm just going to put you somewhere else. But I am now going to effectively hide the map. Um, the idea isn't necessarily that you don't know where you are exploring. It's far more like to actually remind you, like, you are exploring in darkness. So again, there's a certain level of like you're at a crossroads, and we're just gonna say where you hop down right now, western is the way that you're gonna go. If you wanted to go east, I would probably just move you more towards the center of the map and give you that option. But again, like the place has just this massive grid of different places you could go. So you can start to explore here. This is again one of the places. Did we say you do have night vision or you did not take night vision?
Yeah, instead I didn't take, but when I looked on my character sheet, I actually did take it. It seems I'd forgotten that.
Okay, so if you light a torch, you can see quite a bit further, and you can basically at least see to the first of these kind of like breaks. And then you can see, well, that's too much revealed, but in the long run, you can basically see that there is indeed a place where you could go north or you could go south as you get to that next break. Little bit of flowing water, we're gonna call it water. Don't think too much detail about what this is. You are in a major city. It's not good things. Um, but there's a little bit of flowing water in these sewers. It's probably about like a foot or two deep at any given time. Um, Not really raining upstream, so there's not like crazy kind of flows going on. You have a solid sense that none of the north or south passages are actually really flowing right now. But it is one of those things where there could be low points in those sewers. I don't think I really said it for you, but part of what can happen in the sewers is effectively like people will just build a route between one or two like areas of the sewer to make sure that their sewer lines work, um, kind of bypassing the actual city who would do it. But you can kind of see to that. Um, and yeah, if you kind of move forward, let me have you roll a d12.
That's 3.
Gotcha. So as you're kind of like walking around and exploring this area, what are your kind of thoughts as you kind of hop into this sewage area and get to like the first little crossroad? What would you like to do as you're kind of like exploring?
Oh, I guess we are searching for rats. So keep a lookout for. How would you know rats? They have nests in trash, so not expected. Maybe keep an eye ear out or if I can hear some sounds of rats.
Gotcha. Listen for him. Let me get a perception from you.
That is 24.
All right. So this again takes it to like moving forward. If you want to roll proficiency dice, you are welcome to roll the proficiency dice instead of taking your base proficiency. Whoops. While you have proficiency,
Oh, it's just, I mean, I have expertise in perception. How does that work with efficiency die?
that would be getting to roll 2d4.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Then I can try that. See what I get instead. 2d4s.
Part of why I say it is I would like you to always roll with proficiency dice, not necessarily be choosing it. And at least make a decision into the future that basically says like I'll use proficiency dice or I won't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm for using proficiency dice. It's just gonna have to remember that to actually
I'm the
use
same
it.
boat. Yeah. So that puts you at that, but also you have a modifier for perception, I think is wisdom. What is your wisdom modifier?
Oh, that's +2, so that's
Gotcha. So
27.
27 is what you actually did.
Oh, yeah.
So I would say as you kind of like move to this area and, kind of like call for Kiritoa to kind of like be silent for a moment. And you kind of like listen. You can, let's see, I would say you can sense like kind of like the clicking and kind of like movement of an animal to the north of you, or rather animals, I should say. Like you're basically pretty sure I hear rats to the north, as well as you have a solid sense that there might be something coming up behind you as well. But effectively, as you like kind of take this time to listen, like there's probably something worth exploring up to the north. There's more of, but it seems like you might actually have a more immediate danger like coming up behind you. And I'd say as you look in that direction, yeah, I'd say as you look in that direction, you spot, yeah, let's say like there's a small like I'm going to use the word swarm of rats kind of like coming up this tunnel, almost like following behind you guys. But effectively, what I mean is like there are rats kind of moving up this tunnel. A swarm of rats can also be a particular kind of rat that you can fight. But at present, like there's multiple rats coming up that direction. And you kind of have the jump on this happening. They're not necessarily coming for you right now, but they are coming from there. What kind of thoughts do you have right now?
Yeah, I tell Kirito, like, yeah, there seems to be rats coming up behind us. There seems to be some to the north, but ones behind us seems to be catching up to us. So we should take care of them first. And I'll.
So he's going to draw his sword as soon as you say it. I'd say on some level he basically like already had his hands like on the hilt of his sword, but it was still like inside of like this like one quarter sheath that basically keeps it on his belt. And he'll just kind of like release it so he can draw it the moment you're like, there's he's already like drawing this thing ready for battle. When you kind of like point out that they're coming from the east, he looks in that direction. Then you say the north, and he like looks to the north, and then he's gonna look to you to like kind of be like, what are we dealing with? And then you kind of like finish with the idea like to the east first. So he basically spins around and he's now facing to the east for you.
Yeah, and I'll pull out my one of my short swords. So I have like a short sword and a torch in hand. Just gonna say, when you said swarm of rats, the first thing that popped into my mind was I don't know if you played Dishonored.
I don't think I've ever played it.
They have like it's very much like steampunk esque world, but they have like a problem with rats. They seem like gone crazy or with disease. They just swarm. It's like a flood of rats just going everywhere, just attacking everything and anything. That was like the picture I got in my head when you said swarm of rats. Just a wave of rats coming, devouring everything in its way.
I think that is a perfectly acceptable response for sure. Like when I say swarm, like to me, it's basically like Indiana Jones. when they're in the sewer and there's just like a carpeting of the ground is all rats.
Yeah, that's basically what I had in my head as well. Wherever
Yeah,
you see
ver
it.
what I was trying to, like, get you away from is that there's an actual swarms are a thing in D&D for when you wanna represent a lot of small things, um, but you basically turn them into one creature, and you avoid the idea of, like, playing them as multiples. You just kind of make them, um I mean, this is quite literally why I have it, is I was going to place it, but like the swarm of rats is like a group of these rats versus like the other rats are other rats. All right. So again, as you like look back, realistically, you see like the swarm of rats that are coming forward. Um, I think it's a little too soon for you to recognize that there are other rats kind of like mixed into this group effectively. Um, but that's one of those things where when I drop the models, if you AoE them, you're gonna hit the other guys. But in the long run, I want you to kind of like try not to meta the fact that there are a bunch of rats who are basically swarming up the sides of this sewer. And part of, as far as I'm concerned, is they don't have to be on the dry land. To them, swimming or moving on either side, it's all kind of the same. But at present, I think we've got them probably. I don't actually measure the distance here at present, but I think they're probably about like 40 feet away. Yeah, it's almost 60 feet away still. So as you kind of like gain a sense of them, um, yeah, this is where they're about to be in full view of you. They're still dim light right now, so you can really just see almost like this furry like carpeting inside of the sewer as it's like undulating, and you can like hear the little like squeaks, the little like almost like snaps of their teeth. And probably this far away with the movement of the water and the actual like sewage around you, you probably can't smell anything about them. Um, but as you do that, you two like call yourselves to arms. But do you have any other thoughts about what you're going to kind of go into as they are approaching you?
I think as you're approaching, instead of pulling out my short sword, I think I'm actually gonna put like the torch on the ground, sure that it doesn't go into the water, and pull out my bow and start, yes, like start firing towards the rest that I can see.
Let's go to initiative here. And we'll basically, I don't think it'll change how things play out. But we'll basically have Katoa. I'm gonna say he took that light crossbow that you guys looked up earlier. So he's got a ranged weapon at present. Um, and he'll have the light crossbow. So you just rolled a 12. Do you have a dexterity modifier?
Yeah, I have +3, so that's a 15.
This might actually change things because I forgot. Like, it doesn't have a reason to rush towards you. They're kind of blindly running towards you at present. So yeah, I'm gonna put it at this one kind of covers that distance, and then it'll go to you.
And then I'll take a shot at the one. I mean, I guess I have a longbow, so I'm probably gonna take a shot at. I'm gonna take a shot at the one closest to us.
My bad. You said you were at 15.
Yeah, I had a 15 initiative.
My bad. I should have had two close that distance.
Still do the same. Like take a shot at the one closest. How is it? Do we roll proficiency with the hits as well?
Yep. Anytime that you would have that proficiency, essentially, if you have proficiency in your weapon, that basically says to do it. I mean, 22 to hit, that's still a solid hit as this like big old like glob of a rat is like running towards you. You get a solid arrow into it and roll the damage. It's what is it, a D8 plus 3 for a longbow?
Yeah. So that's 9 total.
9 damage. These roll over 9. I'm keeping the creature alive. That creature's just gonna plop down on the ground, um, and just like basically skid into a face wedgie as it stops moving. So theoretically, that is your shot. But you are more than welcome to do any other movements. Potentially do something like bonus action. I don't think you would necessarily have. But otherwise it'll go to Kirtoa for you to decide what you would like Kirato to do.
Yeah, no bonus action yet for Ashen, so Kirito, he could take a shot with the crossbow, see if he can hit that one, the other one that ran up.
Excellent. So he's going to have I don't think there's any reason that he would not have proficiency. I don't know offhand what proficiency barbarians have, but he's basically just straight proficiency here. He's got no dexterity bonus. So it's just a D20 and a D4.
For a 15.
15 is solid enough that you will gain a hit. The damage is going to be 1d8.
For a 3.
All right, so this rat is going to be, yeah, I think we'll go for that. The black one is dead, and then this other one, as you like stab into it, it's basically going to be bloodied. That one is at half health. Technically mortally wounded as well, because it never had more than 10 hit points. But he can take that shot. I was also thinking he's going to kind of leap to the other side of the water, but he really doesn't have to. Um, on some level, be weary that technically you shooting past him would normally give cover to something. But in the long run, that doesn't matter too much. As you guys take those shots,
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with him jumping over and maybe moving up a bit as well. The thing, he's the barbarian, right? He would be probably
yeah,
more
I mean, he can
at
rush
home.
forward too. He doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to jump across if you want to have him rush forward, but you can have him move how you would like to.
Yeah, I think I would just have him rush forward then, like 30 feet.
So he'll kind of cover that distance there. And then we've got, so I think this is where the other ones will actually go further enough to actually get in and on him, though they'll be taking dash actions to get to him. Yep, everybody's 30 feet. He's just a little bit beyond that. So he's pretty much going to get swarmed by these creatures here as they all kind of get up on him. The swarm is the only one that can actually share his space, as it doesn't actually have to stop. But he'll kind of get like surrounded by them as he rushes forward, and like this just like carpet of rats kind of like covers up on him. This last rat kind of like coming in to join the party, and it's going to be the first one that is actually able to attack him. So it has a +2 and a D4 for proficiency. So we'll see what it rolls here. And like the 3 for proficiency, it stops on the 18. Yeah, that's a solid hit into him as it bites down. Oh, damage doesn't matter. I need you to roll a con save. No, really, I need you to roll a d20 and a d4, and you need to get higher than a 4.
Yeah, I got a 22.
Gotcha. So he's good from the bite. He resists that wound. Now I need you to do pretty much the same thing again, a d20 and a d4, and this is to save from actually getting like the plague from this rat.
That's an 8, though.
So that's actually where he is going to get sick from the actual bites. Can't regain hit points except by magical means. Yeah, so like sleeping won't help him regain hit points. Yeah, so at present he's just diseased. And it's gonna go to that other rat was dead. That's gonna be the two of you. So you're back here. You can basically stow your bow and switch to your swords, and rush in there and get in the fight, or you can stand back here and shoot from a distance. It's kind of up to you how you would like to approach this.
I would like to stow my bow and rush up to fight, coming out with the two swords. I guess I'll attack like the rat between me and Kirato.
Excellent.
Oh, that's a 12?
12 is their AC. That's what you need to hit. So you kind of like just get through some of the fur, almost like shaving a little bit, as you like cut through the skin. Roll for the damage.
Oh, right. Sorry, it would have been a 15. I forgot to add the dexterity one.
Oh, your extra dex. Yeah, yeah, solid
Yeah.
hit there.
But yeah, and then 1d6 for the short sword. So that's a 7.
Severely bloodied, and again, kind of the same idea. It is effectively mortally wounded.
Yeah, then I'm gonna follow up with my offhand short sword. Yeah, for 24.
Solid hit there on the same creature.
Yeah. Trying to get that dead.
As an auto kill, I had it at 1 hit point. So you're just going to finish that.
All right. And then Kirito's, I would probably get rid of the crossbow and pull out his. Did he have a great sword?
I think he actually has a great axe because it's a 1d12. I'm
Oh,
pretty
okay.
sure that's the great axe. Is the damage that you want to play with is completely different than worrying about how you flavor it.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I understand.
So he, with his sword, has a d20 plus a d4 plus 3.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like he's favored as a barbarian. And does it? Do I have to? Like, can he rage or?
He has things when you guys are higher levels that he can like ignore damage, which is his like barbarian kind of flavor. But at this level, he is effectively just somebody who fights alongside you.
Yeah, he
Um,
can hit hard basically.
his barbarianness is that he has Constitution as a proficiency, so that extra D4 against him saving wounds is the barbarian ignoring.
Ah, okay, and I get it. I think he will go for just try to get kill the one that he wounded with the crossbow before.
So one thing to keep in mind here is when I was saying with like the kill through attacks is when you attack something that's fresh, if you like killed one of those like the rat that you haven't attacked and you like cut through it, you could cut into something else. In the long run, I think you just missed regardless there with the 4.
Yeah.
But that's one thing to keep in mind. Like instead of trying to finish off that rat, you can contemplate the idea of starting with something fresh and hopefully cut through and hit something else too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't think about that.
But yeah, if you go for that rat, that is a 10 total, and that's going to be a miss. The littlest of these creatures, that's kind of like running in this swarm, kind of like leaps up onto him. It's going to, I guess, really, I've got both of you. So let's see, odd as you, and see who I go for. And this little rat's going to leap up on, looks like you. It is going to try to bite onto you. An 11, feel like, is going to miss.
Yeah, that will miss.
But as this creature like actually like leaps up onto and you can like see it chewing on you, you can see that like not only is this thing like a stinky like nasty creature that runs around in sewage, but it also doesn't have fur over much of its body. You can see some of these rats are like infected with plague, and that's part of why their tails are valuable right now. The commissar's men wants collected tails so they can fight the rat plague. But this creature, like you can see the exposed skull and almost watch as like blood flows into this creature's brain and it's like exposed brain matter is like pumping and you can see like the pulsation as this thing's like trying to gnaw into your armor. See who the swarm will go after. Same thing, odd as you. No bonus to hit, so it's just a straight. What is that? It's gonna stop on the 1, so it'll be for you. Swarm kind of moves over there, and we're just gonna go for. Looking like that's gonna be a mess. I'm gonna roll another d4 to see who the next one attacks. Same thing, odd as you. Yeah, so like the swarm of rats almost like covers you as like the rat with like the exposed brain. Like this carpet of rats just flows from Kiritoa towards you. And the other rat is going to do the same thing. As it kind of like moves into this area. And again, none of these are actually medium creatures, so they like share the spaces very much different than you guys do. And that rat too is going to try to bite into you. This one I think is going to grab a hit though. It is going to do. I need a Constitution saving throw from you.
That's 17.
17, yeah, solid save. You're not going to get diseased in the same way, but you will take 4 piercing damage as it bites into you, kind of leaping across. And this one is probably like a like 5 or 6 pound, like say what is that like 2 kilo rat. This is a massive rat that really does stand out from all of the bunch, even though it's still a small creature. And this one like comes out and like bites onto you, and you can feel like this extra weight like swinging around on your arm as it bites into your bicep, like on the underside of your armor, and it's like holding on for dear life. But it will come back around to you. That rat is wounded, but you have all of the other targets as well that you could go for too.
Yeah, with Masha, he's gonna attack the one that's hanging onto his arm. Basically, just get rid of that.
So that one is wounded already. It's a solid option for your bonus attack. You're making 2 attacks. Do you want to do your main arm attack on something else first? I mean, you kind of know you're gonna miss there. It's enough
Really?
that you still have. Yeah, I was gonna say.
That is, yeah, that is
So
12.
12. That's what you need to hit. When you do it with your main arm attack, I can just tell you right away that's an auto kill. But that was part of what I was trying to say. Like, contemplate those things when you're actually like going for it. You don't have to roll damage there, but you can bonus action attack. Essentially, either the swarm or that smaller rat where you can see like its skull is exposed, still kind of like sticks out from the swarm of rats that are like covering you like a carpet.
Yeah, I'm gonna bonus action attack the swarm of rats. Okay,
Excellent.
yeah, so that's a 15.
15 is a solid hit.
Oh, and I am gonna use. So I remember I am a ranger. I'm gonna use my favorite foe thing, which I can use with a creature that I hit with an attack roll. I can mark for an extra 1d4 damage.
Excellent.
That's yeah, straight 1d6 and a 1d4 for a total of 7 damage.
That's one of the things of how they fixed Rangers a lot is that your favorite foe is actually something that you get to choose and apply instead of like trying to choose for a campaign and saying, I'm always going to be hunting this.
Yeah, that was the one with Tasha's, right? They changed
Yeah.
it, and it's a hunter's mark with bit worse, but that's what it is basically.
You just main hand used to like stab into the rat that was like hanging from your offhand and like stab right through it, kind of removing that extra weight from your offhand, using your offhand to come across and strike into some of the rats that are like swarming up your leg. You almost like in like a shaving like moment with your sword, just like cut through a bunch of the rats and a bunch of their bodies just kind of like scattered to the ground as they're like running up your leg. And then you've got Kiritoa. He can make his sword attack again. That tiny rat is an option because if he cuts through it, any extra damage can then basically be put onto the swarm. Oh, I forgot. You guys are technically flanking now too. You can basically make his attack now with a d20, d4 plus 5.
Yeah, so that's 20.
Solid
Yeah,
hit.
that's going for the little rat.
So roll a d12 and it's plus 3 damage.
That is 14.
The little rat has 3 hit points. As you cut through it and just like cut it into two pieces, all of that actual 11 damage that you just rolled there just sinks into the swarm of rats that are like running around next to it as he basically just cuts through all of them. As the little rat with like the exposed brain gets cut in two, you're going to notice for a moment as all of these rats stop moving. What do you want to do, Malcolm?
Oh,
It's like an
guess.
eerie silence. There's an eerie pause as like this has been like an undulating carpet of like breathing, moving creatures. There's still, 20 or 30 rats here that are like perfectly fine. But the moment Kiritoa like cut through that one rat, everything just kind of like stopped and there's like an eerie silence.
I guess just to make sure he would Martian would like guess I would say like stab his
Keep attacking him.
yeah, basically keep the rest and just still like make sure they're it's kind of weird that they're stuck.
Gotcha.
So he's gonna attack them still. Make
Go
sure that
for it.
they're
Yep.
dead.
Same idea. You've got flanking. So right now, I believe you've got a d20, d4 plus 5.
Oh yeah, so I miss. That's an 11.
Gotcha. The swarm actually only has an AC of 10. So you still hit it there. Roll for damage.
Oh,
And then you
cool.
also have your offhand as well. Yeah. Swarms tend to have lower ACs than their like living counterparts.
This is the regular attack with
Oh, you still have that favorite enemy, is what the
yeah.
d4 is. So 3 damage on the first one and then the offhand attack.
Let's see, that's 3 plus 3, so that's 6 on the regular. Because I have a +3.
Gotcha. Yeah. I forgot your dex bonus.
Let's see the offhand. Oh yeah, that misses.
That'll put this to mortally wounded.
Oh
My
no,
bad.
but
It I should have
yes,
already had it.
yes,
Same
sorry.
idea with a +5 because you're flanking and +3 dexterity. Like +2 for flanking, +3 for dexterity. That's still a hit.
Yeah, I forgot. I keep forgetting about adding like the dexterity and flanking. Just to see the guys near. Oh no, I missed. Let's see, and that's just straight roll that for 6 damage.
9 damage. Can you only do the favorite enemy once a turn?
Yeah, first time I hit with the favorite enemy. When it's active, like it's the first time I hit someone. That's when it.
Gotcha. If you roll a d20 for Kirito's attack here, you really need to roll a 5 or higher on a d20 plus the d4 and if he hits, he kills it, right?
Yeah, that's a third plus his.
So he'll be able to kind of like cutting down the last few rats. As far as I'm concerned, I like the idea that swarms tend to still have some of them that like scurry away. But in the long run, like the actual threat and the danger is cut away at that point. Ooh, I never thought about how many tails you can take away from a rat swarm. But you guys are here for the tails, so let me have you roll a investigation here, please.
And that is a 13.
So roll a have a D12 plus 4.
Then that is 10. 10.
So you can take away a total of 10 rat tails. So that's where you guys basically have 30 gold there. But this is where I am going to take half of that. So you can basically mark down you've got 15 gold. Um, I don't have to make you do like an exchange for rat tails right now, but just say you take in 15 gold.
All right.
We're kind of getting towards like the end of the session, but you can certainly explore further if you would like. You do have the signs of there was another group kind of up to the north of you if you wanted to go check that out, or you can also, actually like bug out kind of thing. More or less up to you if you want to actually spend these next 20 or so minutes starting something else, but it's up to you. I think you made it out of there unscathed, right?
Now I took a hit. I mean, I don't have too much hit points either. uh,
Yeah, so maybe that's where the safety and perhaps leaving can function is that you took 4 hit points, and I think you have what, like 10 hit points total.
yeah, basically a lucky strike away from killing that.
And the odd thing about these sidekicks is effectively they only ever have 1 hit point. So that extra little D4 and the fact that the rats do low damage makes it so they're not likely to die, but when they die, they're gone right away. So it's up to you. You can try to explore further. You can step out with the 15 gold, having recovered, a good bit of what you spent today. But it's kind of up to you what you would like to do.
I think I'll bug out just to be sure. Let's not get greedy for rat tails.
Sounds good. Roll a D12 for me.
That is 6.
So you all do find your way back up to a sewer exit and make your way back out without a problem. Back up into Midtown. Um, I say let's get you back to the Crooked Skinner and kind of end things with you there. So if you'd like, you can start to head back down and like pass through the streets of like the um, Midtown. Let me have you roll. Let's go for a D12 for that as well.
Another 6. That's 3 sixes in a row.
All of the sixes, all with D12s, or it's randomly like just the
I
two
mean,
D12 sixes.
the 3 d12s we rolled so far have been 6s. So one of them was with a extra d4.
And then let's see, that'll take us into the Guild District. No, that takes us pretty quickly into the Warrens. Definitely higher danger there as you pass into the Warrens. Let's go for a survival check, and that'll tell me what I give you for a random encounter.
That is 14.
14, I'd say let's keep it at minimal. Let's do another D12 for you.
That is a 1.
Excellent. Excellent. Roll a D100 for me, please.
The 95.
Yeah, so we're gonna go for as you're kind of like wandering through and finding your way to to the Crooked Skinner. You guys have like a solid, strong smell of like fire and like fresh charred like wood. And this is one of the things where there are few things as dangerous as fire in a city. It's part of why the city kind of prides itself on effectively having like a fireman's brigade in every major part of the city. If you actually look towards Midtown, where the Delvers Square is, you've got like that little eagle crest kind of right above 195. Well, like southeast of 190, you can see something like, to me, it looks like a little blood drop. That is a fireman's depot. They have one of those in each of the districts.
Oh, cool.
So those two locations, those are key to kind of like understanding these maps. because like again, the one that looks like to me a blood drop is like where there's a fire station effectively. The eagle is like a guardhouse. So those always kind of show up in the different districts. But like when you go to the Warrens don't have anything like this. About the only effort that goes into stopping fires in the Warrens is that like the Guildsman's district will come to try to stop fires from spreading beyond the guild and into or beyond the Warrens and into the Guildsman district. And like the Guilds district, you can see their oh, it's actually a fire. Duh, that makes sense why it looks like a drop of blood. Um, you can see over between Constable and Curtin Street, over by where it says 306 to the east of where it says Guildsman District. You can see the little fire depot as well as the guardhouse. They're closer to the Warrens in part because the Warrens doesn't have guards. They don't have a fireman's depot. The constable's men won't go into the Warrens because that like Havel district is so dangerous. And part of what that means is fires there are much more dangerous. And you guys are coming into the Warrens with the smell of fire, and you're getting closer and closer to where you expect to find the Crooked Skinner. And when you guys get to the Crooked Skinner, you can see many of your guild members are currently fighting the fire that is currently happening. And a lot of this kind of like level of technology is sure there are some magicians who can help fire by like actually using water and their like control of the elements, but by and large this is the level of firefighting where it's like okay, as soon as that house is actually burning, that house is done for. Save the next house. So it's always just a question of you are fighting the spread of the fire far more than actually trying to prevent the fire from damaging what it is currently burning. And I think a lot of people, like in modern day, we take fire departments for granted because they can put out fires. I feel like often, like you almost like look at firemen as if they're like failing when you see them like putting an effort into like prevent the fire from spreading, and they just let the fire burn that's already there. But this is that level of technology where fires tend to be you just let it burn out. And right next to the Crooked Skinner, you can kind of see probably about like oh man, it's hard to say because it's not like houses in this area. These are all hovels. There's probably 20 or 30 houses that have been burned in this consumption. The main building in this area is actually the Crooked Skinner, but like a lot of the effort has been put into saving as many of these little hovel homes as possible, keeping it from spreading from one location to the next. It could have been started from somebody lighting like a little punk of wood to try to like light a second candle. It could have been from somebody knocking over a candle. It could have been from a pale dog coming here to set a fire to try to burn down the Crooked Skinner. It's hard to tell. But when you get to the Crooked Skinner tonight, you're going to see that there's about like 20 or so individual, like tiny little homes that have been burnt down in, say, like a 400 square meter like footprint on the ground. And again, a lot of these times, like homes are built up 2 or 3 stories. So, this is a small footprint, but there were like 20 homes in that area that got consumed before the fire was kind of brought under control. But this is also one of the few times that you see the people of the Warrens somewhat working together too, because there are a lot of normal folks doing big bucket brigades to get as much water on the unburnt locations as possible.